Well, thank you indeed. You know, it's certainly been an eventful year, and I can't believe that it is coming to an end, but it is. And I appreciate all of you for being here tonight and help us celebrate it, and also to celebrate the coming year under the great leadership of Katie Harvey. Now, looking back when I spoke at last year's Gala, I emphasized the importance of leaning into San Antonio's core competencies, which included collaboration and service. And I pointed out that service is just another way to describe extending grace to others. So we talked about collaboration, service, and grace. I also talked about supporting important civic initiatives, and finally about the need to look inwardly at the Chamber's own organization to make sure that we were structured most effectively to be the best voice we could for business as a force for good, because it is. Now, it's my belief that we've been successful in addressing those priorities. For example, we saw collaboration in the beginning of a process between the San Antonio Chamber to work together with the Austin Chamber of Commerce as our communities draw inexorably closer together. We saw it as the Chamber offered its service in supporting critically important issues like the $1.2 billion city bond issue. And through its board and membership, we raised $212,000 towards the media campaign surrounding the passage of that bond issue, and it was a significant percentage of the money raised. We also saw collaboration as the Chamber organized the first SA to DC trip in over 2 years since the pandemic, where over 150 community leaders came together, went to Washington to advocate for issues important to our city, our state, and our military missions that are located here. I will tell you, observing the depth of those relationships that exist between your Chamber of Commerce and our military leaders at the highest level helps me understand why San Antonio is Military City, USA. And no one has had more to do with making that a reality than your Chamber of Commerce. Creating and nurturing those relationships at scale over time is one of the Chamber's superpowers, and it needs to be supported in that role. Now, these things were very important, I believe, but as it turned out, it was looking inwardly at ourselves in order to make ourselves the most effective advocate for business as a force for good that took the most time and effort this year, and I believe will have the most lasting impact. We established a governance task force, we strengthened our board structure, and we broadened the representation of senior business leaders from our community. And we also took on the hard work of developing a strategic plan for the long term. And in that regard, I'd like to share a short video with you at this time, capturing the thoughts of just a few of the participants in that process. Please roll the video.
Well, I think Phil was the right chair at this time for the Chamber, because if you know Phil, you know what kind of leader he is. Highly intelligent, very wise, very caring. He's a great planner. He's got great foresight.
And it was exciting for me, as well as everyone else that joined to support him, to follow a man who was a man of purpose.
He has a real vision for the business community to be a force for good in the world, in our society, and in our community.
Phil has immense experience heading up Frost Bank. He's done a lot of strategic planning, a lot of tactical thinking. Well, we started building the strategic plan from the ground up because one doesn't exist. So we actually started with vision, mission, and values. That's the core of any organization. We would meet with the staff every 2 weeks, and then the staff would actually take a piece of what we were doing and they would go off and do research around it, whether it was market segmentation, services offered. And so they actually got to help birth the baby. And then we were able to include stakeholder groups and get their feedback of how the plan was going.
I knew that the Chamber was an amazing organization that had been a fundamental part of how San Antonio's grown over the years, and there was a huge opportunity to look beyond the successes of yesterday and to chart a path for tomorrow that would help San Antonio continue to be one of the most competitive cities in the nation, a place of opportunity, a place for businesses to thrive and grow and attract the greatest talent around the world.
Well, if you look at the structure of the Chamber, any organization that's got 120 plus board members is really not a functioning organization. And so it had to come back to a smaller organization where decisions could be made. And not only did you have 120 board members, it was really hard to connect the dots on accountability. And so bringing a new structure would bring accountability back to the Chamber of Commerce, its system, its leadership, committees, etc.
I think the governance restructure for the Chamber was really important this year especially because the needs of our businesses have changed post-pandemic. We are all kind of evolving together, and to be able to do that within a governance model and have the processes and communication and structure to support that is really important.
Thank you from all of us for doing this great, heavy lift. We appreciate you, Phil.
And you have made a difference in so many ways in this community of ours. So thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. You know, we're so indebted to the work of so many at the Chamber for making these changes a reality. And I want to thank members of that governance task force and also Larry Mills for really their commitment through that entire process. I also want to thank our current board of directors and executive committee for their demonstration of courageous grace in supporting a change that impacted them directly for the good of our community. And I want to thank our new executive board members for graciously agreeing to give of their time in this new effort. I'd also like to thank this year's Chamber leadership team. They're remarkable individuals that you'll see on the next few slides. And we'll start with our vice chairs. And we'll follow that with our council chairs. And we'll follow that with our committee chairs. You know, each one of these gave of their most precious possession, their time, in order to not only serve the Chamber, but to serve the city of San Antonio. And we thank them for that, and I'll ask that you join me in a round of applause for them. I have one other slide that I'd like to recognize the work of Mario Barrera, who's stepping down after 14 years of serving as the Chamber's legal counsel. Thank you, Mario. And of course, I'd like to also thank the Chamber staff who did such a great job, no matter what the test, what the task, what the immensity of the changes. They did a great job, and we owe a debt of gratitude to their leader, Richard Perez, who shepherded us through this critical time. I'd also like to thank my fellow tri-chairs who've worked so hard with me this year. Hope Andrade continues to inspire and mentor me in all things San Antonio and the art of the possible. And of course, our chair-elect, Katie Harvey, who we'll hear more about in just a moment. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Sandy, my best friend. She's accepted the public demands of this position with good nature, patience, and grace. And it's clear to me that San Antonio has now discovered that the best part of Phil Green is Sandy Green. Well, it's truly been an honor to serve you this year as chairman. It's a great institution, and I look forward to all it will accomplish in the future. Thank you, and God bless.